listening to the JK Experience, where we train leaders to live a life of exceptional impact, influence, and faith. I'm Josh Kalinowski, my main man, James Rivera. That song never gets old, bro.
No,
just saying it.
doesn't.
I know I say it all the time, but we could just keep rocking this.
I need to play that on loop in the gym.
Yeah, it is an awesome song, man. Well, you are in a good mood today.
I'm in a great mood today, Josh. Today, you ever just have one of those days where everything just kind of comes together and things go well, and you don't have any big side swipes or anything like that?
Yeah, those are really nice and rare.
Yes, they are.
So you've got to remember them.
Today was that day for me, and yes, so today was a good day. I don't want to brag though, because as soon as I do, something's going to hit me.
That's very true. Yes. But you have to enjoy it, and I think it's also good to celebrate it too. So well done. It's nice that it is. It's only a Wednesday really when we're recording this, so you still have 2 more days of the week, man.
Yep. I got two more to get through before everything falls apart.
Well, let's not go there.
That's a defeatist attitude. I'm sorry.
All right. So one of the things we've been doing here is answering a little Q&A really quick with the new book and the new release of the book. That's almost, I should say, released. We're excited about that. Amazon has got that almost published. I want to say you can go on there and pre-order it, of course, now, but I think the official date that it gets there is between the 13th and the 16th. They are producing the books as we speak. And yeah, I'm excited, buddy. Here we go.
So you hit like a milestone with the electronic version, right?
Yeah, we were able to. So we did a soft launch, and so they obviously new to this whole book releasing program, but we did a soft launch on the ebook, and we distributed that internationally first before we really did it too much in the States, and became an international bestseller. So That was pretty awesome and great news to receive. So that means that hopefully that means that the message was good, the message was strong, and that people were fans of the writing. And so that was a great accomplishment to receive, and we're excited to see the impact that makes here in the States, man.
Good. So are you ready for the book question?
I am.
All right, so I've thought about this one a lot. I don't know if I can ever
be, but yes.
So I've thought about this one a lot, and this one kind of, for me, was more personal. Like, I want to know where your head was at, and I want to know that point. So tell us, when was it that you said, I want to make my story into written form? I want to make it a book, right? When was that? And at what point did you go, no, I'm doing it? Like, what was that pivotal point where you're like, yeah, I'm going to put pen to paper?
Okay. I knew that I wanted to write a book years ago. I didn't think it would be this type of a book.
Okay.
I wasn't really interested in talking about my past and having a autobiography done on my life, so to speak. So I would say about 5 years ago, I knew that getting into leadership and getting into impact and wanting to help serve and others and be there for others and help others grow, just like I had the opportunity to grow from so many people, I knew that I wanted to write a book that had to deal with leadership. And then 2.5 years ago, I was really challenged by a couple of people sitting at my table. And they said, you've got a good story, and I think you've got some great life lessons that need to be brought out and shared with other people. And as I started to think about it more and more, I realized after talking with a number of my really close friends as well, too, that I played baseball with, realizing that I wasn't on this island all by myself, and many of them felt the same way. They went through a lot of the same emotions, devastation, fear, and shame. And I said, I don't live in that space anymore, and I want to make sure that anybody that has had a failure, has had an experience in their life that they lost track of their goals, or they got defeated by life and the circumstances that they were faced with, I want to make sure that they understand first and foremost that they are not doing this by themselves. And I wanted to help them get the tools that I had to discover over a 13-year period, and so that they could start implementing it in their life immediately.
That's great.
So
that's great. So what was it that prompted you? I mean, so when was it that you said, all right, I'm gonna start writing words on paper?
Yeah, it was after I wanted to find a publisher.
Okay.
Obviously, having never done this before, I wanted to make sure that we were hiring the right people. I did a number of interviews with companies, and eventually chose one, very happy with them. Bestseller Publishing did a fantastic job. They're currently doing a great job as well. And so once that started, then really it was the breakdown. So about 2 months after that, we started to break down what the book was going to be about, started to highlight the chapters and what those were. And then, of course, as I've said before, and you've heard this many times, it's 7 revisions later, or 7 versions of the book later. That's why it took so long to get into an actual published book. But yeah, about 2.5 years ago is when I said, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna commit to this, and I need to do this for myself and for many other people out there.
Oh, that's great. And I just want you to know I'm fascinated by the process. Like just watching it go the way it's gone, the different iterations of the book. I've been truly fascinated by it. So thank you for letting me kind of follow along on that journey.
Yeah, you bet, buddy. I mean, it's been fun to have people, and I've needed it, I will say. One of the things that's funny, I was, the topic that we're going to be talking about today is closing the loops, the things in our life. And it really hit me last night that, I've been doing the same routine for almost 2.5 years now. So every night before I go to bed, get all the kids to bed, Kate and I catch up real briefly on the evening and so forth. And then from 9:30 until midnight, 1 o'clock, it was the grind of writing the book out. And I'm so used to it now. It's become one of those disciplines in my life that when 9:30 hits, I automatically go to the room. I go to the room, I sit down, and the first thing I do is get the laptop out. So it's taken 2 years for me to be honest with you, to obviously create that discipline in my life, but just to realize that now it's ingrained in me. And not having a book to write, I obviously am going on to different projects, and as you well know, there's so many things that come along with creating a book. I've still got that discipline where I'm going, okay, it's 9:30. I've got work to do. And I would say that as healthy as that is, there's also times where it's not necessarily healthy. And I found myself last night going, I just know I'm going to exercise my no muscle, and I'm not going to do it tonight. I'm going to venture to do some other things. And it was a great evening, needless to say, but it was interesting, once again, just having that reflection of the discipline that was created in order to make this book.
That's great. Once you embrace that discipline and create it as a habit, isn't it funny how important or how big of a part of your day that becomes? Yeah.
When you don't do it, you just feel off. I think so many people, when they're doing those morning routines, once you become accustomed to that and you start to understand how much it fills your cup, when you don't get that chance to do it, it really throws off your day and you feel incomplete. You just feel off. And so it was an interesting reminder, once again, of the disciplines in our lives and why they're there. So,
well, I appreciate you closing the loop on that for us.
Yeah. Well, we haven't even really talked about that yet, but let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Okay. So closing the loop. What do you want to do? You want to talk about it?
Yeah. So I want to know. I mean, I know a little bit about it from being around you on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Like I know one of your pet peeves is unfinished projects, right?
Yeah.
It's things that are anything, not even projects, things that are just left undone. Whether it's a conversation that you feel like you need to have, or one of those big projects like the book, right? When it's undone,
right,
you kind of become undone.
Yeah. Yeah. I will tell you, I got to just be for full disclosure and complete honesty is I've been really starting to get overwhelmed with the amount of work that needs to be done in so many of our businesses and so many of the plans in the future, building that future. And once again, I think we've done this on a couple of podcasts about how it was great to have really good people, yourself included, that have sat me down and said, okay, all right, dude, what can I take off your shoulders? I've noticed that you're looking stressed here. And I wasn't realizing it at the time, but of course, now in reflection, I can see how much I was starting to get stressed by it. And it kind of came to a head yesterday. I was having a fantastic coaching session with my mentor, and I had one of those moments where I was like, you know what? I'm just going to be brutally honest right now. Whether it's like, I'm going to be honest with my emotions at the moment, whether they were actual truthful the entire time, or whether I was really, really in that state for a period of, a week or so, that wasn't the point. The point was that at that moment when I was talking to him, this is exactly how I was feeling. And just had a really great conversation with him. And we walked through some steps and some things that I needed to do personally to get myself on the other side of the, I think the anxiety that I was having, some of the challenges that I knew I was facing. And as I got out of that appointment, that time with him, I started to implement things right away. And one of the things that I found that was so helpful, and we've talked about this before, is closing the loops. You know, one of the things that I see that CEOs, owners of businesses, leaders, managing directors, anybody that has any amount of responsibility for that matter, is every day you create these goals and these things that you want to accomplish, the to-do list, right? And in all actuality, unless you're creating a list of like 1 to 3 things, you're putting too much on your plate in order to get done. I mean, it really is hard to get anything of significance done for more than three opportunities or 3 things, I should say. I was stacking multiple things every day on my plate. And what ended up happening was I would accomplish 2 or 3 of those tasks and I'd have 5 more to go. Well, then the next day I'd have those 8 tasks plus those 5. And so they would go to 13. And then you can just see this habit of constantly just adding more and more to your plate. And then there's by the ways, you need to do this. Oh, by the way, you need to instant message this person. You need to call this person. You need to return this thing. And it just starts to stack and get in like an overwhelming amount of pressure that puts on our shoulders. And I found myself at that point. And by me simply just, and I've said this before, staying faithful to the little things, starting to close the loops, I was surprised at how much energy that I got from it. And so last night, early on the night, I literally started to instant message a number of people that I've been meaning to for like a month and a half. People that I want to pour into, people that I want to be a part of their lives, people that I'm just reaching out because I know that there's a connection there that needs to be made, and I've got to do this. And this is planting the seed for the future. I was so energized and I felt like I completed the task finally.
Great.
And then, of course, at 9:30, when it was time for me to hit the computer, I didn't go do the thing that I typically would do in the evening. I finished up I finished up some projects that I know that I could finish up, close the loop on. And then I just read. And I was telling you, it was just so life-giving to be able to do that, give myself permission to do that, say no, that I'm not going to work till 11:30 tonight, 12 o'clock tonight. I'm literally going to take time to pour into myself and fill my cup. And it was powerful, man. And it really reminded me once again, and the audience here, you got to close the loop. What are the little things that you can finish and complete so you can finally just get them off your shoulders?
Man, that's great. So, first of all, I love the fact that you, first of all, flexed your no muscle.
Yeah. Right.
We talk about that a lot. We did a whole podcast on it. So that's good. But here's the thing: you weren't doing it to anybody else. You were flexing your no muscle to yourself, right?
Yeah.
Those inner voices, and you did a great job of that. So let me set this up. I'm a CEO. I've been barely treading water with all of my things that keep stacking up because I'm only getting 3 or 4 done a day, but I've got 8 or 10 to do every day.
Yeah.
So I've been doing this for months.
Yeah.
If I let one of those plates stop spinning and hit the ground, that's a huge disappointment, right? That's a failure. How do I stop the plates, keep them from breaking, and start getting through that stuff?
Well, I would say this. I mean, first of all, you got to realize that that's more than likely a story that you're telling yourself when it comes to, man, if I stop that plate, it's going to break and shatter, and then it's going to be complete disarray. That's probably not the case. Let's just be honest with you. As a CEO, you have some great responsibilities. There is no doubt. And if you haven't identified your top tier stuff that you need to take care of, then you need to do that first and foremost. Because what ends up happening is everybody else's important things in their life become your urgencies. And they might not be your tiers, right? And that's why you think you have so many plates spinning, because you're trying to solve the problems for so many other people. And that's not really important. It might be urgent to a certain, to a sense.
Yes.
And I think that we have to recognize that. So first of all, it is tell the truth, right? Tell the truth, what's really going on in the situation. And then you have to identify, okay, listen, if I only had an hour to get stuff done, what are the things that I need to address absolutely immediately right now? Like, this is super important. Okay. And can you get it done in an hour? What project can you focus on for that 60 minutes? Right. Mm-hmm. I will say this is the reason why I was doing those 24-hour silent retreats is because I realized a lot of the projects that I had put on my plate were requiring multiple hours of my attention.
Yeah.
And why I kept on feeling like I had these open loops is because I would only give them a half an hour at a time. Well, holy smokes, man, you get 10 minutes just to get in the groove, and then you get another 10 minutes of just being in the groove, and then you're starting to get worn out or you're starting to get distracted already because you have all these other projects. You have to be able to compartmentalize that. And once again, it's like anything else. Like if you've got a lot of, like, let's say you got a lot of credit card debt, okay, right? They always tell you, eat the little one first. Like, get the little one out of the way. You know, you got a credit card debt for $500, another one for $1,000, another one for $5,000, another one for $10,000. Take the $500 one and get that one done.
Yep.
And then you stack that one and then do the $1,000. And then you stack that one and you do the $5,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing in these projects about closing the loop. What can you accomplish now that will close that loop and it will not be hanging over you any longer? And it seems contradictory because you're like, well, no, I need to tackle the big project. I need to go do that one now. No, you can't. You don't want to do that because the amount of time that you have allotted yourself will not allow you to finish that, nor will you be able to tackle all the small ones. So I would say that you got to go for the small ones and then work yourself up to the big ones. And then when you get to that big one, now that you have freed yourself up some time, can you multiply that and do 3 hours now? Can you multiply that and take a day to do that now? But you got to start small. Just like any habit, you got to start small, close the loop on the small stuff.
Man, that is great. So first of all, thank you. Be honest, right? I love that because I think a lot of times we as busy managers or CEOs, we tell ourselves, oh man, this is the end of the world. If these plates do stop spinning, pardon the analogy, if they stop spinning, we're done. We're sunk. So first of all, thank you. I appreciate that, and I hope everybody heard that because that is very important, right? And you and I talk about this all the time. Hey, is this something that's really going on, or is it a story I'm telling myself?
Yeah.
And because of that, I appreciate that. So now tell me this: have you found that once you've started closing the loop on some of these things, do you find that you're closing loops on more things in a day?
Yeah, once again, I started this last night, and I literally carried that into this morning, and I'm like, okay, what else can I close the loop on? Because I started to realize, man, I'm starting to create energy in my life, and I'm getting excited again. Good. Unfortunately, what happens is when you start to get overwhelmed by all of these projects you need to get done and accomplished, you start to lose the energy. You start to lose the confidence in yourself. You start to get a little bit upset about the things that are coming on your shoulder or the people that are questioning you, and there are things that are happening outside. And I caught myself doing that. I felt that pressure, And here's the thing. For once again, full disclosure, I do a really good job of filling my cup. That is a massive priority in my life. Yeah. I do things on a daily basis that allow me to be as best that I possibly can be for other people. But even then, you still have to look at these projects that are just sitting around and they're staring at you every single day, dude. They will wear you down. So that is why it's so important to tackle those small ones. And like I said, you start getting momentum and you just want to do more and more of those problems. You want to do more and more of those little things because you're like, okay, I got confidence. All right, here we go. And boom, I'm going to take the big one on now. I got this. Let's go.
Oh, I love it. So maybe give us some tips on identifying the things that we should be closing the loop on and things that maybe just aren't important, like personal
sure.
examples.
Well, I go back to the 5 foundations in our life, right? We talk about we talk about faith, family, fitness, finance, and our future. And you got to realize what season you're in. Right now, the things that were overwhelming me were everything about the future. Family was doing great, faith is doing great. Finances are always, whatever. We're an entrepreneur. You never, day to day, they're always changing, right? Yeah. But it was everything that would happen to be about the future that was causing the stress and the anxiety in my life. And so I just looked at that and said, okay, so things in the future, what are the things that I can tackle right away? Because I think one of the things that we do too, I know myself, I will choose to do really hard stuff in the fitness side of my life. And I enjoy that. That's one of the ways I fill my cup. But I'm not looking always for ways on my future or ways in the financial part of it to do really hard stuff, right? So I have to look at that and say, okay, I'm going to be very intentional when it comes to my future. What are the projects I'm working on right now? And I just have to lay them out there. Here we go. These are all of them right here. Here's the 20 things that I'm working on. And then I have to start going, okay, I can get this one done tonight, because the only thing I need to do is send that stinking instant message to that dude that I've been listening to his podcast forever and say, hey, we need to connect. I love your messaging. We got to get you on the podcast. And it's those things that you forget about, or you don't have time to do it because something else comes up and it's more of an emergency. And I just started doing that. So look at the little things that you can start to implement and take care of immediately, so it starts giving you that energy. So future, that was about the podcast. Another one was an email that I needed to send. Another one was a correction on some advertising that we were doing personally. I just had to hey, I got 10 minutes. Boom, I'm going to knock it out. I'm going to get it done. And then it's over. Loop has been closed.
Good. Josh, that's awesome. I really appreciate you being, again, that's a lot of personal information you're talking about there. And it's great that you can share it with everybody, because I'm not kidding you. Every time we walk out of this podcast room, I'm taking a small portion of that and going, all right, where do I implement that in my life? And it's really impacted me. And I know you've seen that. And so I really appreciate it. I just hope everybody else is growing from this as well. Well,
I thank you. I mean, I think, once again, if we go back to the heart of this podcast and why we're doing this, is that this is a journey that we're all on. And we want you to know that we're just as imperfect as you believe yourself to be. And we'll have great victories. And we've seen that time and time again in our lives, which is fantastic. We've had challenges, we've had heartache, we've had heartbreak. And, this is the authentic part of leadership. And, one of the things that I know that I really appreciate is when those that are closest to me, or those that I respect and admire, I love to know that life is not perfect, but yet they're still showing up. And I think that's what we want to do on this podcast.
Yeah, and I think we do a really good job of that, because we come in here and we really just kind of put our hearts out there, and we want people to know that, man, if you're going to be in business for yourself or leading other people, you're going to have ups and downs.
Yeah, you are. And I will tell you this, though, is that it's a part of following your passion. It's a part of following your purpose. It is going to be hard. It's going to be a grind. But I tell you what, the journey is so stinking worth it. The lessons that you learn along the way, when you have time to reflect on them, and if you're open to the fact that life is happening for you and not to you, those are amazing things. This is the life that we create. This is the life that makes we want to reflect on and makes it worth it to live and live to live such a life on fire. And it's okay. It's right now we're getting stretched, we're getting challenged, and it's uncomfortable. But I know when we look back on this moment, this chapter, we're going to be so proud of how we handled it, and we're going to be so much better and stronger from it.
You say it really, really succinctly in your opening: a life of exceptional impact.
Yeah. Well, the only way you can do that is if you're doing big things, man.
Right on.
So. All right, I hope this was good for you as you listened. And once again, I say this all the time, but I really mean it. If this meant something to you, if you know somebody in your life that needs to hear this message, I just ask you to share it, comment it. We love the interaction with you, and we're so appreciative of all of you that are constantly giving us feedback. So, love you all. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and we will talk to you soon.